nating balikan. Lasang natin aabot kahit nasan ka man. Sa gitna ng palubok na panahon, kahatid sila kaakibat ay diskusyon. Sama-sama tayo kahit magkalayo. Sa programang ito, tak ang pagkakato. Teleradyo, Teleradyo Marcelo, Teleradyo, Teleradyo Marcelo. Makinig, manood na sa Teleradyo. Makinig, manood na sa Teleradyo. Nananabik
you, Delphilarians. You are tuning to Teleradyo Marcelo, ang telearalan ng bawat Malolenyo. Magandang buhay! We are delighted to have you here at Teleradyo Marcelo. I am Miss Francia May G. Gatchalian, your lead to oral communication. Before anything else, let's have a recap of our previous lesson. Last week, we discussed the different types of speeches and speech styles. For the types of speeches, it is divided into two, which are the types of speeches according to delivery, and the other one is according to purpose. There are four types of speeches according to delivery, which are the manuscript method, memorized, extemporaneous, and impromptu speech. On the other hand, in types of speeches according to purpose, we have three. They are informative or expository speech, persuasive speech, and entertainment speech. We also have five types of speech styles, which are intimate, casual, consultative, formal, and frozen. Do you remember all of those things? If you do, great job! Today, we invited another set of students who will be with us for our first activity. There will be 5 students, 1 per each strand, who will answer an impromptu question prepared by our OCC team. Say hi, guys. How are you doing? Can you give us a thumbs up? Thumbs up naman kayo dyan, guys. Ayan. As you can see, guys, we all invited also 3 of your oral comm teachers who will answer these questions. Here we have Ma'am Isabel Macale, Ma'am Eunice Sitamco, and Sir Lester A. Zamora. Thank you, ma'ams and sir, for joining us here today. Our participants for today do not have any idea what the questions will be. That's how impromptu speeches work, right? Now, let's pick it up. Let's have our first participant, the representative of TVL1. Say hi, Neil Gabriel Barrera. Hi, Neil.
Hello po, good morning.
Good morning, Neil. Are you ready for your question today?
Kinda nervous po, but ready po.
It is nerve-wracking talaga. It's normal to be nervous, but my only tip is for you guys to enjoy our whole broadcast for today. So your question for today is, what makes a good president or leader of a country?
For me, a true leader should not look at politics, but at their character. The certain qualities a person possesses can potentially determine what kind of leader they will be. And I believe that a good leader possesses the qualities of dependability, integrity, and perseverance. And then to be a leader means you have a lot of responsibilities. So people have to depend on you to take care of these responsibilities. And then sometimes being a leader comes with hard decisions. But it's your responsibility to make those kind of decisions and make sure that there's a good outcome. And then if people can depend on you to get them through not just good times but the hard ones too, then you have the making of a great leader. That's all, and thank you.
Thank you so much, Neil, for that well-versed answer. Let's now have our first guest teacher, the teacher or the oral com teacher for the ABM strand, Ma'am Isabel A. Macale. Do you want to greet your students, ma'am?
Hello, good morning, everyone, especially to the students of ABM, ABMA to ABME. Good morning. Good morning, Ma'am Francia.
Good morning, Ma'am Isabel. Are you ready for your question po?
Always po, the joke lang.
Thank you, ma'am. Here's your question now. So, if you are given a chance or choice between world peace and to be the richest person in the world, which would you choose and why?
First of all, thank you for that question. Okay, so to answer that, we know that our world has grown richer, no, in terms of technology advancement. What else? Wealth of knowledge and other economic trends, no, that contribute to our growth patterns across the globe. And all of these aforementioned resources, on the other hand, should have aided, no, in attaining world peace. Unfortunately, most of these resources were hoarded by the upper 1% of the society. So now I am being given a choice to choose between being a part of this small group that you have mentioned of people who enjoys the majority of the world's wealth, no, or resources, or decide on having world peace. Of course, my answer would be I would be choosing world peace. Why? So the amount we all know that the amount of material wealth, no, can never quench one's thirst for true peace. And though, no, say I have been so much given material wealth, and I decided to use that to contributing to world peace. The question is, isn't an instant fix still better? And of course, world peace doesn't only mean the end of war, but we all know that it is an end to all our suffering caused by the greed of some men for power and material wealth. Now, I would be asking the same question po if you may allow me, no? Would you still choose to be the richest person in the world over world peace? Thank you po.
So that is actually an open question for our dear students. As Mom Isabel said, would you rather to have world peace or to be the richest person in the world? Comment down your answers in the comment box. Thank you, Mom Isabel, for your time. And thank you, po, for your well-versed answer. You made us um, see the insight of what truly is or what the meaning of world peace truly is. Thank you so much, ma'am. Now we
Thank you po.
have the representative of UMS, Ma'am, sorry, Hasnin Kalustanya from 11 UMS F. Hi, Hasnin.
Good morning, ma'am.
Are you ready for your question? How are you
Uh,
today?
I'm actually very nervous right now. Like,
Okay. Nervousness is normal during this live broadcast. But here is your question. Would a dictatorship rather, in the Philippines be a beneficial setup? Would a dictatorship in the Philippines be a beneficial setup?
I think it's very obvious. The answer is very obvious. Like, no, since first of all, we already experienced dictatorship on the hands of the Marcoses. So did it become beneficial for the Philippines? Definitely not, since the condition that we were left after the dictatorship of Ferdinand Marcos, we were put in the slum. The debt that will live on the hands of the citizens are huge. So technically, having another dictatorship for the Philippines is not a good thing. No, it wouldn't be beneficial for us.
Thank you for your answer, Hasmin. So she said something about dictatorship not being beneficial to our country in terms of, she also cited the examples of our previous administration during the Marcos era. And I think and I know our students of Marcelo H. Del Pilar National High School should be aware of that. Thank you so
Yes.
much, Hasmin, for your time. Let's move on to our participants from Arts and Design. Our Arts and Design student is Bea Nicole Gutierrez. Hi, Bea.
Hello po, good morning.
Hi, Bea. Kumusta ka naman today?
Okay naman po, medyo nervous din po.
Thank you so much for giving us your time. Here is your question. If you were given a choice between being the smartest person in the world and having the ability to sleep worth 8 hours at any given time, which would you choose and why? If you were given a
Um,
choice between being the smartest person in the world and having the ability to sleep worth 8 hours at any given time, which would you choose and why?
uh, Knowledge is a power, but it does not mean you have to be the smartest around. As the famous saying goes, health is wealth. You can be knowledgeable and successful without being the smartest, while also having the ability to not be deprive your health through lack of sleep. So I would gladly choose the um, to be um, to have the ability to sleep worth 8 hours at any given time.
Okay, thank you so much, Bea, for your answer.
Thank
Del
you.
Pilarians, kindly take note of Bea's answer. It is really important for you guys to sleep at least 8 hours every night. Okay, thank you so much, Bea. Let us move on to the next participant. Let's welcome another guest teacher, Ma'am Eunice Sitamco. Do you want to give a shout out to your students, especially to your advisory class? I'm sure they are watching you right now.
Ayan, good morning to everyone, especially to my advisory UMS F, and then to my students, TVL 2, 3, 4, 5, 9, and STEM K. Good morning to all.
Good morning, ma'am. How are you today?
I'm good. A
Are
little
you
bit.
ready for your question?
Yes, I'm ready. Always sharp.
Okay, here is your question. Do you think the death penalty should be implemented in the Philippines and why?
For me, yes. However, it should be applied to grave crimes only. And reliable justice system must be secured to ensure that the appropriate offenders will be punished without bribery involved. But if the justice system will not be improved, then that penalty must not be implemented.
Thank you so much, Ma'am Eunice, for your answer. It is important for us to have a justice system which is true and humane before moving or implementing the death penalty once again. Now, for the student from the STEM strand, from STEM B. Let me welcome Aaron Rafael Garcia. Hi, Aaron.
It's actually Aaron, ma'am. But anyways, thank you for inviting me here, and good morning to all. I'm actually quite nervous to talk in front of many students right now.
Thank you, Aaron, for your time. Are you ready for your question?
Not quite, but go on.
Here is your question. Do you think life would be better without governments? Why
Um,
or why not? Do you think life would be better without governments? Why or why not?
my answer is pretty straightforward because without governments, there won't be and there won't be any organization to govern us, and if there's no one to govern us, then people will and there will be no rule, there will be no order, and so people will tend to incline more on chaos rather than order. If and this is the reason why government is important. I think the root of this question is due to the fact that government is seen as somewhat evil, I think, in their ways, I guess, because they are a hindrance to many of the people's lives, and I think this is due to the uh, misuse of the political laws, I guess. But nonetheless, government system is important to manage our society. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Aaron, for that answer. Remember, guys, our government, however um, unjustified they may be, they give us orders still. Last but not the least, or is the representative from the ABM strand. Let me welcome Carnell Chelsea T, or Casey for short, T Ranieses from 11 ABMB. Hi, Casey.
Hi po, good morning.
Good morning, Casey. How are you today?
Same as them po, I'm also nervous but at the same time, I'm honored to be here po participating in Teleradio Marcelo.
Thank you so much for giving us your time to be able to participate live here in Teleradio Marcelo. Here is your question. Would you say that freedom of speech on the internet should be limited or more controlled? Why or why not? Why would you say that freedom of speech on the internet should be limited and more controlled? Why or why not?
To answer that question, in my opinion, no, it shouldn't be limited because it is a principle that supports an individual's or a community's right to speak up and articulate ideas without fear of legal sanctions. We must also practice exercising our rights to centralize living in an open and fair society where people can have the privilege to access justice and human rights.
Thank you so much, Casey, for that answer. As you can see, Del Pilarians, our guest students for today, are very articulate when it comes to English speaking. Before I forget, we have another teacher here, our last guest teacher and our other lead to oral communication, Sir John Lester A. Zamora. How are you, sir?
Given the 3 cups of coffee I already drank, I'm not nervous. I'm fine.
Are you not palpitating there, sir?
My my hand is shaking.
Do you want to greet our students? How
uh,
about our shippers? There are students who are shipping us here.
um regarding the shipping. Yeah, hello students, especially to my students in UMS. And yeah, nothing will come of the shipping. Nothing will happen. I'm sorry.
Anyways, here's your question, sir. If you were the DepEd secretary for one day, what changes would you make in the educational system? If you were DepEd secretary for a day, what changes would you make in the educational system?
Um, First of all, I hate this question because I'm not really great at managerial tasks. But if I were DepEd secretary for one day, given that it is only one day, I think the first thing I will do is resign immediately because I am not capable. Just kidding. The first thing I will do is go to the bank and check if the salary is there. Just kidding again. Uh, I'm really stalling for time so that I can think of an answer. And yeah, the real thing I guess I'm going to do is assuming that changes will be done in just one day, which is I don't know if it's feasible. But if I'm going to be DepEd secretary for one day and assuming that all the changes I will make will last after I step down as DepEd secretary, then the approach to this should be rational and should be systematic. I can't, as a person in power, I can't just make decisions on the fly and, you know, just give DepEd orders and whatnot. So the first thing I will do is, of course, conduct a needs assessment as to what our teachers on the ground need. And for this, of course, to be successful, we would have to identify certain problems and we would have to check first if there are problems to be solved in the first place. And when that happens, of course, usually the problem is when those problems are identified, we need proper supervision as to whether the construction of solutions for these problems can be properly facilitated. And then after that, if there are programs to be implemented, depending on region, for example, because every region, every place, every context might have a different need. Like for example, for indigenous communities, we would have different solutions for their situations compared to, let's say, children or students or teachers in Malolos, which means that for every program that will happen there, we will now, after the needs assessment and the implementation of programs, maybe, we will, if there are programs to be implemented, we will conduct an assessment of the effectivity of the program. And if it's not effective, we scratch it and make improvements. And if not, if it doesn't work, yeah, that's what we're going to do. And if it works, then we're going to implement it and possibly improve on it. So I can't give any specific answers in for this question, primarily because I don't know what the problems of the educational system for the country would be, and seems like a very big responsibility. So I guess that's it.
Thank you so much, Sir Lester. Let us give a shout out and also a virtual round of applause for our participants for today, our 5 students from the different strands, and of course, our 3 guest teachers of our oral com subject. Thank you so much, dear students, as well as teachers who joined us here for today. You made our first activity fruitful and exciting. Till our next activity. Now, as we start, I want you to find a place that is free from distractions so that you could focus on our discussion for today. Sit up straight, listen very carefully, and try to not fall asleep. Stretch your bodies too if you haven't yet. It is healthy to stretch 10 minutes once per every hour of screen time. Today, here is our learning competency. Listen very carefully. For this lesson, you must be able to respond appropriately and effectively to a speech act. To discuss this topic again, here's our oral or other lead to oral communication, Sir John Lester A. Zamora.
Hello there. I am John Lester A. Zamora, your other lead to communication. As we all know, communication happens effectively when the message is passed clearly. It becomes useful and meaningful when both the sender and the receiver understand the idea being put across. Indeed, there could be no valid reasons to ignore the need for communicating successfully. Moreover, to achieve effective communication, it is essential to know the different types of speech acts, which are the main point of today's discussion. But first, what is a speech act? A speech act is an utterance that a speaker makes to achieve an intended effect. Speech acts are performed when a person offers an apology, greeting, request, complaint, invitation, compliment, or refusal. In short, a speech act is an act of communication that supposedly stands as actions. In line with this, as we communicate with others, we use language without minding whether to use complete sentences or not. The number of words in a single utterance does not matter so long as we can get our message across. According to J.L. Austin in 1962, a philosopher of language and the developer of the speech act theory, there are three types of acts in every utterance, given the right circumstances or context. These are locutionary, illocutionary, and perlocutionary. Now, take a look at the following examples. The first one is "Dough" from Homer Simpson, which is his expression. The next one is when someone says "wow" when someone is amazed. And of course, this is one you're familiar with, which is "hello" when greeting someone. Or "get out," which is a strong command. What is common among those utterances? That's right. These are all sounds that are treated as a natural unit of speech. This kind of speech act is called a locutionary act. In speech act theory, a locutionary act is the act of making a meaningful utterance, a stretch of spoken language that is preceded by silence and followed by silence, or a change of speaker, which is also known as a locution or an utterance act. Locutionary act is the actual act of uttering or saying something. This act happens with the utterances of a sound, a word, or even a phrase as a natural unit of speech. For the utterances to be a locutionary act, consider the following. First, it has sense, and most importantly, for communication to take place. Next, it has the same meaning to both the speaker and the listener. And lastly, utterances give rise to shared meaning when it is adjusted by the speaker for the listener. For the next one, what is common among the following? The first statement is, "It's more fun in the Philippines," which is an opinion. The next one, "I'll help you clean the house tomorrow," which is a promise. And the third one is, "Get my things in the office," which is an order. Now, what is common among those statements? Correct again. Each utterance here has a certain function. In speech act theory, the term illocutionary act refers to the use of a sentence to express an attitude with a certain function or force, which is called an illocutionary force, which differs from locutionary acts in that they carry a certain urgency and appeal to the meaning and direction of the speaker. Although elocutionary acts are commonly made explicit by the use of performative verbs like promise or request, they can often be vague, as in someone saying, "I'll be there," wherein the audience cannot ascertain whether the speaker has made a promise or not. In short, a locutionary act is the social function of what is said. In an elocutionary speech act, it is not just saying something itself, but with the act of saying something with the intention of stating an opinion, conforming, or denying something. It could also be making a prediction, a promise, or a request. It could also be issuing an order or a decision, or giving advice or permission. This speech act uses the elocutionary force of a statement, a confirmation, a denial, a prediction, a promise, a request, or other functions. For the third one, what is common among the following? The first one is, we can do this. We heal and win as one, which is intended to inspire. The next one, it is crucial that we give all our collective efforts to fight against this pandemic. We must start working together, which the goal is, of course, to persuade the listener. And we have here, smoking destroys your health. Certain as it brings diseases, it kills you, your loved ones, and others, which is, of course, intended to deter smoking. What is common among those? That's right, there is a certain effect expected to take place from the statements that were mentioned. According to Kempson, the perlocutionary act is the consequent effect on the hearer which the speaker intends should follow from his or her utterance. Perlocutionary act refers to the consequent effect of what was said. This is based on the particular context in which the speech act was mentioned. This is seen when a particular effect is sought from either the speaker, the listener, or both. The response may not necessarily be physical or verbal and is elicited by, could be inspiring or insulting, it could be persuading or convincing, or it could be deterring or scaring. Simply put, the aim of perlocutionary speech acts would be to change feelings, thoughts, or actions. However, that's not all. As a response to Austin's speech act theory, John Searle, from 1976, a professor from the University of California, Berkeley, classified elocutionary acts into 5 distinct categories. They are assertive, directive, commissive, expressive, and declaration. Let's begin with the first one. The assertive elocutionary act is a type of elocutionary act in which the speaker expresses belief about the truth of a proposition. Some examples of an assertive act are suggesting, putting forward something, swearing, boasting, and concluding. For example, when someone tells you, "No one can love you better than I do," they believe in the truth of that statement. Will you believe it? The next one is the directive elocutionary act. This is a type of illocutionary act in which the speaker tries to make the addressee perform an action. Some examples of a directive act are asking, ordering, requesting, inviting, advising, or begging. If a teacher tells you to please maintain the cleanliness of our school, that is a directive illocutionary act. The third one is one you probably received before. The commissive illocutionary act is a type of illocutionary act which commits the speaker to doing something in the future. Examples of a commissive act are promising, planning, vowing, and betting. Of course, it depends on whether this will actually happen. All we know is that the speaker promises it. If someone tells you that they will love you and honor you for the rest of their life, they are committing and therefore making a commissive illocutionary act. The next one is something that you may have seen before. The expressive illocutionary act is a type of illocutionary act in which the speaker expresses his or her feelings or emotional reactions. Some examples of an expressive act are thanking, apologizing, welcoming, and deploring. For example, if someone tells you, "Thank heavens, you came to save me, I owe you my life," that is an example of an expressive illocutionary act. The last one is declaration. This is a type of illocutionary act which brings a change in the external situation. Simply put, declarations bring into existence or cause the state of affairs which they refer to. Some examples of declarations are blessing, firing, baptizing, bidding, passing a sentence, and excommunicating. For example, when the utterance "you're hired" is uttered, it changes the external situation. By saying that someone is hired, an employer causes or brings about the person's acceptance to the job, which consequently changes his or her life. And there you have it. Those are the speech acts that we perform in most of our encounters with other people. You have learned that communicative competence requires understanding of speech acts to respond appropriately for effective communication. Hence, it is important to determine the appropriate response in different social settings and situations. For our evaluation today, let me now call on my other lead to communication, Ms. Francia May G. Gatchalian.
Thank you, Sir Lester. I believe, guys, Del Pilarians, you learned a lot from today's discussion. Isn't it interesting? Now let's test if you really listened well and understand our discussion. But before we proceed to make your learning fun and exciting, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share Teleradio Marcelo on Facebook and on YouTube. Here you can rewatch the lessons that you've missed so that you can learn anytime, anywhere with Teleradio Marcelo, ang telearalan ng bawat Malolenyo. For our last activity, are you ready? Close down your notes and listen carefully in our assessment. Now that you understand what speech acts are, remember that our actual competency is for you to respond to speech acts. To do this, I will give you an example. Try to think of how you are going to respond in different situations. If a teacher is carrying books and she says, it's heavy, the words themselves are the locutionary speech act. They are the utterances and they mean something. Her intention or the elocutionary speech act here is that she needs help. It isn't just to say that it is heavy. And the intended effect here, of course, is the perlocutionary speech act, which is that you would help her. So in short, the locutionary speech act, it's heavy. The elocutionary speech act, the teacher is asking for help in carrying the books, and the perlocutionary is for you to help her carry those books as an effect. Now it is your turn. As good citizens of the country, I will give you the locutionary speech act and try to identify the elocutionary and perlocutionary speech act. In other words, identify the intention of the speaker and how you should respond to it, which is also the intended effect. Let's see how competent you are in communication. The locutionary speech act for the first number is "You're late," says the teacher who is already conducting his or her class. What is the elocutionary and perlocutionary speech act for that statement? Don't forget to type in your answers in our comment section, and also make sure that you took a screenshot of your attendance here today, because it will be checked by your respective oral comm teachers. You're late. What is the elocutionary and perlocutionary speech act for that statement? I could see that some of the students are defining what speech acts are, the locutionary speech acts. But my question is, what is the elocutionary and perlocutionary speech act of the statement "You're late," says your teacher who is already conducting your class? May I also comment that some of the students also answered the impromptu speeches or the impromptu questions that was given earlier today. So what could be the locutionary and perlocutionary statement for the term or for the phrase "You're late"? So according to Ezekiel Jude Rodrigo, the locutionary speech act for the phrase "You're late" is the teacher is angry because one of her students is late. And the perlocutionary or the effect of that is that the student will say sorry and proceed to go inside the classroom. Thank you for that, Ezekiel. Let us move on to the second questions or the second statement. The second question for the locutionary speech act. This isn't working anymore. I think we should see other people, says your girlfriend or boyfriend after asking you to meet them in a restaurant. What could be the elocutionary and perlocutionary speech act in that statement? You may now type in your answer. Thank you, dear learners, for actively participating in today's broadcast. I hope you will be with me until the end of this program. The locutionary speech act, this isn't working anymore. I think we should see other people, says your girlfriend or boyfriend after asking you to meet them in a restaurant. What is your answer? What should be the locutionary and perlocutionary speech act in that given phrase? This isn't working anymore. I think we should see other people. What could be meant by that person who said that? Some of the students are summarizing the discussions that we have. Thank you for that. But what could be the answer? According to Eric Jerome Mendoza, the Locutionary Speech Act for that statement is that your partner wants to break up. And the perlocutionary is you both talk it out and agree on a term. From 11 STEM B. Thank you, Eric Jerome Mendoza. Let's go on for our third question. The Locutionary Speech Act for the third task is, hey, miss, need someone to take you home? Asks a smiling stranger while you are walking on the way home. You have never seen this person in your entire life, and it is 10 in the morning. Hey, miss, need someone to take you home? What could be the Locutionary and Perlocutionary Speech Act in that specific statement? While you are answering, let me take this opportunity to acknowledge and thank our subjects group head, Mr. Virgilio J. Valenzuela. Thank you for supporting us. And also our dear secondary school principal, Dr. Maria Victoria C. Vivo. Thank you so much, Dr. Vivo, for this opportunity to give us an interaction with our dear students. What could be the answer for our third statement? Hey, miss, need someone to take you home? According to Marco Villafuerte, the Locutionary Speech Act for that is the significant, or that is actually for number 2, the significant other wants to break off the romantic relationship, and the Perlocutionary Speech Act for that is they would agree to part ways and find others that would complement them. That actually is his answer for the previous question. But what about this third question? According to Hans Christian Roque, the Locutionary Speech Act for that is a creepy stranger asks to drive you home. And the Perlocutionary Speech Act should be, I don't, or I would not, or I should not accept the offer, and phones home and goes home immediately. Thank you so much for actively participating here with us, my dear Delpilarians. For our fourth statement or question, the Locutionary Speech Act is, good morning. How do you like your eggs? Your mother asks while cooking your breakfast. What should be the Locutionary and Perlocutionary Speech Act in that given statement? Your mother is asking you, how should you like your eggs to be cooked? Okay, keep your answers coming. I would like to thank also my fellow Oral Com teachers, especially our guest teachers for today, Ma'am Isabel Macale, Ma'am Eunice Sitanco, and Sir John Lester A. Zamora, our other leads to communication, and of course, our script writer for today, our technical director, Ma'am Janina Venturina, as well as Ma'am Raquel Canlas, and Sir Pawi de Guzman, our other teachers, and our other teachers from the English department. Thank you, ma'am and sir, for actively participating and for actively supporting our weekly broadcast. Let us see if you have already answered our question for today. What could be the Elocutionary Speech Act for the statement, good morning, how do you like your eggs? According to Elijah Archer Aldai, wants the Elocutionary Speech Act is your mother wants to cook eggs for you, and the Perlocutionary Speech Act is you will tell her how I want or you want your eggs or how your eggs to be cooked. Very good. Thank you so much for that, Elijah. And the fifth and last question for today is the Locutionary Speech Act. Hey, you, back away from my wife. says the stranger rushing towards you. You assume that he is related to the woman asking you for directions. What could be the elocutionary and perlocutionary speech act in that question? Hey, you, back away from my wife. This is the last part of our activity for today. We hope that you learned a lot from our today's discussion here in Oral Com Diaries. By the way, this is our last lesson for the first quarter. We're already halfway through this semester. Isn't it fast? It seems that we just started these adventures last time and now we're here. We really thank you, our dear Del Pilarians, for your unending support to our program. We do appreciate your comments, suggestions, and feedback every week. Okay? I could see that you are done answering. Let us check it now. What could be our elocutionary and perlocutionary speech act to the statement, hey, you, back away from my wife? What could be the answers? Let me see from this comment section. According to Juliana Alexandra M. Cruz, the elocutionary speech act for that statement should be, the stranger might be jealous or protective and wants you to back away from his wife. And the perlocutionary speech act for that is that you explain that you mean no harm and that it is a misunderstanding. You're just basically giving or telling the direction asked by the wife beforehand. So thank you for that, Juliana. That ends our evaluation part for this week. Good job, grade 11 students. And for the second part of our assessment for today, here is the link. bit.ly/OCC Week 7 and the QR code for our online assessment for today. Again, scan or type the URL here on the screen. This will serve as your attendance for this discussion. Don't forget to take a screenshot of the Google form after you input all the needed information. Did you get it? Lastly, for your assessment, please refer to the activity posted by your Oral Com teachers in your respective Google classrooms. Communication sometimes is not what you hear. Listen not just to the words, but listen for the reason.
And that is another quest filled with new learnings and fun. Tune in for our next episode where another adventure awaits here in Oral Com Diaries.
Where you listen, learn, and illuminate. This has been Mr. John Lester Zamora
And Miss Fran Shumeji Gatchalian,
your leads to oral communication.
Are you afraid to go out and connect to the crowd? Here we'll learn how to listen, here we'll learn how to speak up. Just click, send, just click, send, and people gonna see it. Hi, hello, good morning. This is about communicating by simply nodding and smiling. I think we are both agreeing. Oh, hi, hello, good morning. This is about communicating by simply nodding and smiling. I think we are both agreeing.
say speak it up, your thoughts and feelings. I say speak it up, what's in your mind? Everyone right now is facing a pandemic. We have no choice but to stay away from the public.
But that doesn't mean we'll stop socializing. Cause our alcohol is everywhere for everyone.
I say speak it up, your thoughts and feelings. I say speak it up, what's in your mind? We will not give up, we'll continue sharing. Let us speak it up. Oral communication. Oral communication. I say speak it up, your thoughts and feelings. I say speak it up, what's in your mind? We will not give up, we'll continue sharing. Let us speak it up. Oral communication.
Radyo is always at your service. Kaya naman, ang feedback mo, suggestions nyo ay mahalaga sa amin to improve our programs on air and online. Para alam ni teacher yung strengths as well as the things in your mind na mas makatutulong sa mas effective na pagkatuto sa Teleradyo. Please take time to send your feedbacks via Teleradyo Mu, which you can access by scanning the QR code on the right or typing the URL provided here, bit.ly/3ORVAY9. One more, this time you follow. bit.ly/3ORVAY9. Kaya send your hashtag TBH o hashtag RT dito sa Teleradyo Mu, kung saan ang feedback mo, suggestions nyo ay mahalaga sa Teleradyo. Bit.ly